What is up, everyone? Keith here from MB Tennis. Hope you guys are doing great today. Today we are going to wrap up fixing my forehand. This is the final part 4 to this short mini series for you guys. And we've made it. The forehand, in my opinion, is completely fixed, lack for a better word, and I'm excited to show you guys the final adjustments and changes, and we're going to walk through that through this video today and talk about some future goals as well with this. But before we jump into it, do not forget to like and subscribe. If you're enjoying the content on the channel, if you've liked this series and our other videos on the channel, please like and subscribe. It really helps us make better content for you guys. We're on our way to 10,000 subs. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe. So let's bring it back all the way back to the very first video of this series, and that was really breaking down my forehand. You know, I hit late a lot. I struggled with my prep and a couple of other little issues. If you want to, get a really good view on everything, make sure you watch all the videos right through to this point. You'll have a better understanding. But I really struggled, and one of the main changes that I made was my prep, and I did try and model off of Holger Rune. There was a couple other names that I talked about, like Avicii. I know I'm probably butchering his name, the Argentine player. And then also just to try and make it a little bit more compact, a little easier for me. This is something Carousel from My Tennis HQ has done in the past as well, to make some changes to his forehand as well. So working on my prep, loosening up my hand in the follow through of the swing. I tend to muscle the ball a little bit. That was another little minor change we made, kind of getting that more sidearm throwing feeling. Those are really the main changes that I made. There was a lot of things that we're thinking about even changing further. I didn't mention this in previous videos, but when I did come back from school, I was debating on even really going back to basics and, changing my grip. I was thinking about doing an Eastern forehand grip. Kind of felt really good in some easy practice drills in the beginning. I did switch to it just to try it for a couple of days, but then realized I didn't really want to go that far. I wanted to stick with my semi-Western grip and stick with the setup changes. And with these changes, it did allow me to flow better through the stroke, catch the ball out in front, which is where we want it. But the other thing that I have not really spent that much time talking about was kind of my footwork as well. Even though I'm a college player, I still can kind of get a little bit lazy sometimes. So I feel like my urgency, not necessarily like a footwork pattern or a crossover or a shuffle, like the urgency in my footwork wasn't as good as it should be. So that meant, getting up to balls properly, moving back properly when I need to, and hitting the ball through the second window is something that I also started working on with my forehand. These are not technical changes, but it's one thing that I struggled with, was hitting the ball through the second window constantly, creating that solid rally ball kind of effect. And my movement was limiting me into doing this by not getting up to the ball, not getting back, which then led to late prep, late contact, which is not what we want. So it was also a little bit of a movement issue as well, which is not something we talked that much about in the past videos, but I thought I would mention here today. So the other thing too that we talked about too is I was working with a new online coach, Matt Cudsdub. Without him, these forehand changes would probably not be as far down the line as they are now without him. So many thanks to him. He's running an online program right now called Level Up. It's still not too late to sign up if you guys want. It is a little bit of a price tag, but I'm telling you guys, it is worth it. I've been on the group with all the players in there, and they seem to be having a great time and enjoying it. And I'm seeing some improvements from all these players that are in this group. So if you guys want to check it out, you can use my code too to get a discount. The other thing about Matt is I did make a trip up to Montreal, which I did mention in the last video, to train with him and one of his other players who is ranked on the ATP Tour and has some points. So this was great to put me under some pressure and really expose the new changes, and like I said, put them under pressure. So I did feel a little scrambly at times, and that is normal when you do undergo some changes, but for the most part it felt pretty solid, and it kind of reassured that the changes were the right ones. So that is a good sign. And with that now, after returning from the training, I have continued to work on these things even further the last couple of weeks. And now I'm actually heading down tomorrow. You guys will see this video eventually, but as I'm recording this right now, tomorrow I'm headed to Boston to play a UTR college circuit event, to play some matches before another tournament the following weekend, which is one that I'm kind of trying to prime myself up for. So I'm excited to go play this UTR event and really actually put it to a test with some matches with players around my level. So really excited for that. The other thing I do want to mention is the cue-based drills that I have mentioned here in these last couple videos in this series. They have helped my forehand a lot, especially going through these changes, and also just my game in general going through these changes. Like, you can do these cue drills on your backhand or on volleys or other things as well. And I think this is just something that's important as tennis players. We get hung up on technique a lot, and I know a lot of people are going to come in here and they're going to be mad at me for saying this, but technique doesn't really matter all that much. Yes, I did make a couple minor technical changes, but it's really not all about the technique. Sure, you do need to have some basic technique. You got to have a good setup. You got to hit the ball out in front. You got to have the right grip. Couple other things, but other than that, that's about it. A lot of the other things are movement, but if you look on the ATP and WTA tours, there is really no one single player that hits the ball the exact same compared to another player. And this is one thing I try to communicate with juniors as well, is just don't be hung up on your technique. And like I just said, sure, there are a few things that can be changed here and there. I did make a minor technical change with my setup, but I'm not going to just be so hung up on it. So that's the thing. I'm not wanting to be so hung up on the technique. There's still other things that need to be focused and worked on. Make sure everything else is still working, maybe mechanically if we want to think about technique, but there's also other things like my footwork that are really important as well. So not being so hung up on the technique is like so important. And what you need to do is then put it through these cue-based drills. A lot of people then go to the hand feeding and the racket feeding from the other side of the court, and it has a place, but it's not. People need to move away from that. I feel like in tennis, people are doing that stuff too much because it's not realistic. If you're really trying to break something down and you're maybe like changing a grip or something like that, then maybe you can go to that. But if you really want to see some results with your technical change and changes that you're making in your game, putting them through the cue-based drills and hitting with somebody is really where you're going to benefit the most. It's the most real world like situation on a tennis court you can possibly get. Somebody hitting from the service line nice continental racket feeds, here you go, is not really it's not gonna do it. It's not gonna cut it. There are places for that, like I said, when you're really breaking things down, but putting yourself through the ringer of these cue-based drills is going to help you a lot, and that's what I've done so far with this change, and it's really like sped up the progress of this change in my forehand, because I have been doing these hitting drills, the cue-based drills, and you don't even need to do them with somebody that's like nearly on your level. Like, I do them with my dad and I still get the same benefit out of them, right? So it's easier for me to work on these changes that I've made through the cue-based drills with somebody like my dad, who's barely a 4.0 player, than him just feeding balls to me, right? It's good to see the ball coming back and forth in these hitting drills. It's more match-like. I also put a lot of effort in off the court. I don't talk about that a lot on the channel, but I'm in the gym every day working on things to help my tennis on court feel better as well. So those changes in the gym help me as well. It's really, you have to be doing all the things to make these technical changes work on a higher level, and you got to be really willing to kind of sacrifice as well too. There were some practices where I just felt shitty out there, and that's just the way it is when you make these changes. I remember thinking, I don't want to do this cue-based drill. I hate the way my forehand feels, but in order to get to the next level, you got to do these things sometimes. So my forehand feels great now. I'm excited. My game is going to continue to evolve. I got another year of college tennis left. Still some things that I do need to work on. There's always room for improvement.